Hi. Okay, so 2.5 years ago, my brother sent me a video that was depicting like an acrylic dodecahedron with LEDs pointed inward, and each face had a um, one-way mirror that looked like it was infinitely like expanding. When I saw that, I got really, really excited about designing a bigger one that we can individually address LEDs, one that has bigger windows so that you can see easier, one that allows us to fully control patterns and visualization, dimness, all that stuff, which are limitations to that first one, but that first one really gave us something to kind of look forward to. So this video is actually to document what we did 2.5 years ago, as well as what we're doing now. 2.5 years ago, I went all out on this design. One of the first complex designs that I had ever done. It was probably the most sturdy frame that I had ever developed. However, it also had a big bill of materials. It was pretty cumbersome to assemble, and we'll get into those details because I really want to kind of air our dirty laundry a little bit on the design front, just to document why we're moving the way that we're moving, as well as just kind of show other people who might be designing things what we ran into with this complex object. I'm really not sure what level of detail I want to go into as to like the angles of the dodecahedron. You have really, really strange angles, like the inner angle of each pentagon face is 108 degrees, and then you have like 112. However, with a lot of the CAD software nowadays, it's pretty easy to have the program solve that for you. So although we did a bunch of math in the beginning, I'm now leaving it up to my CAD software and just doing some clever manipulation of like construction lines and things like that to make it easier. Version 1 had a really cool bracket. It was very sturdy and was the first object that we had created that was this complex that we could hold in our hands. What were the problems? The problems were basically all the tool time, from the corner brackets themselves, each being FDM printed, total of 60 of those required per dodecahedron. The number of screws, you have 30 edges, 2 brackets per edge, times 2 screws per bracket, a total of 120 screws. The faces themselves were made out of MDF board, requiring everything to be very flat, and wood doesn't often like to be flat. The inlays, the tool paths for that, the actual cutout tool path, the acrylic tool path. There's so many tool paths and like movement of material that this quickly became like we're not going to be able to build more than a handful. And that was a little demoralizing. And then when I handed it off to Jack, it became very clear it was just going to be really time consuming to be able to solder all of the LEDs in there. So we kind of set them down. Not kind of, we actually did set them down. That's version 1. That's the reason we set it down. In the meantime, we actually started a business, built these things, kind of got more familiar with the tools, more familiar with what it means to make complex objects. We had a little research and development experience there, and now we're back to try and remake the same challenge that we had before. Hopefully a little bit simpler. Hopefully simple means we make it to the finish line and we also are able to share it with a wider audience. Yeah, let's move on to the version 2 design.
Now, from Dodeca 1 to Dodeca 2, there was about a year and a half where we just didn't work on the project at all. During this time, we started our business and we really learned how to use the tools that we have much better. I'm a student, so I spent a lot of time focused on my studies, while my brother Travis focused more on his career and his family. This time, though, actually helped us a lot in the process of designing the Dodeca, because we were able to kind of take a break, put it on the side, focus on our own skill sets, and tackle some other problems, work on some other projects, come back to it with these new skills that will allow us to have a fresh perspective on these issues and how to solve some of the problems that we were seeing. With Dodeca 1, we had more of a face-based design where we were milling out those MDF faces, the hollow pentagons, and then we were attaching those to each other using brackets to make the entirety of the dodecahedron. And, after taking some time to think about it, spending a few months, over a year, almost 2 years, not working on the project, and then coming back with these fresh perspectives, we decided the best approach that we could take would be a vertice-based design. Now I'm going to let Travis take over here and explain some of the details of what this vertice-based design is and kind of some of the parts that go with it. But at the center of it, it's pretty much based on the idea that the kind of integrity of the frame is based around these vertices, which are where the edges meet.
Here is an assembly view of one edge. You can see here we have a vertice with brass rods for the edge, and there's a center edge support. This is intended to support the LED strip itself. Let's dive into the vertices. So in the vertice design, there's a few things that I'd like to point out. We have wire guides for each edge attached to the vertice. These wire guides prove really useful when soldering against such small pads on the high pixel density LEDs. The wires that are coming through these wire guide holes are going to be soldered to the back side of the LED strip itself. The other thing I want to point out here is that we have brass rod channels. They get fed into this vent hole here, so any air or liquid IPA will be able to vent through this hole here. A secondary purpose for this vent hole is actually, this is the same diameter as the brass rod itself, so any attachments that we want to make to this vertice can be done by placing brass rods into these vent holes and attaching something to those brass rods. Another little bit about this design, so you'll notice that there's webbing that runs between the two brass rod channels. This webbing not only provides support for these brass rod channels, but also is the face at which we will be attaching the acrylic one-way mirrors. As a second support on the middle edge connector, you can see that there's an offset from this face to this face. This is to support the acrylic glass at the center of the edge as well from the opposite side. Last thing I want to show here is this face is offset from this face by 0.5 millimeters, and that is the LED's PCB depth. So the LED side of the PCB is going to be supported by this face, which is on the wire guide, and then the adhesive side will stick to this side of the center edge support. And as a final piece to this design, there are parts of the data line that need to be routed back across behind the LED in order to make that one long data path required for us to have singly addressable LEDs. And this channel is to just give that data line route back a nice place to sit behind the LED so we don't have wires just kind of dangling. So really, that is the design for Dodeca version 2. All of these parts are printed in resin, and I believe we will be open sourcing all of the part designs, including some of the print structures, so all of the supports and things that are needed to make the prints really easy to just kind of push to your printer and have it print out, and then you have Dodeca vertices and such. So yeah, I look forward to hearing feedback on the design, what seems too complex, what seems like it might be a better way. Just overall excited to share this with whoever is interested in building really cool light fixtures like a dodecahedron.
Alright, we had a ton of fun making this video, and we're really looking forward to making the next video.
And we didn't go into a lot of detail during the video, but Periapt Technologies is a business that Jack and I started. We intend for it to be an open source rapid prototyping business driven by community.
Now, since community is at the center of any open source kind of business, it's so important that you guys leave your ideas in the comments and that you actively engage with the content.
Yeah, and so with that being said, the next video should be build log, well, it will be build log 2, but it should include the full Dodeca build along with the shrouding and all of the design and building that went into getting that to work. We also have hopefully what will be a pretty cool tool for you guys to be able to give us feedback on next ideas for things that we will build into the future.
Yeah, and again, if there's any improvements that you can think of for the current project, make sure to leave those ideas for us and we'll take them into deep consideration. You might even see it in the next video. And we always have more ideas that we're excited to work on. So if you have other build ideas that you would like to see us take on, make sure to leave them because we'll definitely like to try them.
Yeah, and if anything, we'll just get into the design stage and show you how you would build it maybe.
Yeah.
We're really interested in just continually building stuff. So please leave some comments down below, like and subscribe if you're interested in more content. Thank you.